Welcome to our commercial advertising photography class. I'm glad you've joined us. In this lesson, we will learn about the photography of transparent objects. This category includes high-end glass crystal products as well as medium to low-end items like organic glass and transparent plastic vessels. Alcoholic beverages such as red wine, whiskey, and beer also fall under this category. When photographing these subjects, the focus should be on showcasing both the crystal clear texture, while also capturing their elegant shapes and patterns. The smooth surfaces of glass products can easily reflect their surroundings. Therefore, during photography, it's important for the subject and its environment to be clean. We might consider using an infinity cove as a background. In terms of visual representation, there are generally three aspects: dark lines, bright lines, and the subject representation. These aspects should be used based on the product's texture. Dark lines in transparent glass are created mainly through the refraction of light. The defining feature of dark lines is the depiction of deep and dark lines along the contours of the glass object. To create these dark lines, the background should be adjusted to a brighter tone. When setting up the lighting, there should be some distance between the subject and the background. Also, it's recommended not to use direct hard light for the main light source to emphasize the dark line along the edges. Bright lines, on the other hand, are achieved through light reflection. The bright lines on the glass surface perfectly separates the product and the background. The background should be dark, so we can use black velvet cloth to create a contrast that emphasizes the bright contour lighting. To achieve this effect, we can place a long rectangular softbox behind the product to create a bright contour light on the glass surface. This is the effect of bright lines. The third lighting approach focuses on the subject itself, so the emphasis is not on creating prominent line contours, but on highlighting the product itself, its brand, or surface texture and pattern. These are the three kinds of visual representation we've mentioned. When representing the subject itself, it's recommended to use soft or reflected light rather than direct hard light. In this lesson, we'll introduce the photography of glass objects using the effect of dark lines. Let's begin by looking at the example image for this lesson. The image showcases a beer product. In a frontal view, the bottle exhibits a luxurious gradient transition, emphasizing the purity and texture of the beverage. After the initial photography, post-processing in software like Photoshop is required to change the environment outside the product to white, enhancing the sense of purity. Let's analyze the lighting setup in this image. The lighting includes two parts: one that highlights the transparent quality of the beverage, and the other focuses on the bottle's surface to emphasize the brightness. The translucency in the image can be approached in two methods. One method involves using a standard reflector placed behind tracing paper to backlight the product, creating a pure white background. This is the first method. The second method involves using reflected light directed towards the background to enhance the translucency of the texture, but its effectiveness depends on the spaciousness of the background. In the demonstration, we use infinity cove as a background to achieve this effect. Since an infinity cove provides ample space, it better presents the desired visual impact. For lighting on the surface, we can use top lighting that is slightly angled towards the front of the product. We can use a KT board to create reflection on the bottle's surface. A lighting effect like this, direct lighting, would result in unnatural and hard highlights, so we use reflective lighting to provide gentle fill light for the surface. Regarding the lighting equipment, we can use a standard reflector with a honeycomb grid to achieve local lighting effects. In terms of the shooting angle, a frontal view at eye level is appropriate. As this image requires post-processing, depth of field needs to be considered. Therefore, we can use an aperture between f16 to f22. This allows for cleaner image edges. For the post-processing, The shutter speed is set at a 125th seconds and the ISO at 100. We continue to use a 100mm lens for the shoot. Now we notice a very delicate detail in the image, which is the water droplet on the surface. To create those droplets, we have a technique where we can use Vaseline or car wax to increase surface tension. This will make the water droplets appear more rounded and full. Now let's set up the composition to enhance the sense of purity in the image and prevent the strong backlight from causing excessive illumination. We can use a black KT board to create a frame around the bottle. We'll extend the frame slightly, about 1 to 2 centimeters beyond the bottle's size, exactly at this position. As an auxiliary tool, it can make a perfect dark background. We'll clamp it in place. And remember that, besides using the shading, we should temporarily remove the UV filter from the lens, as it can also cause unwanted glare. Also, make sure to attach a lens hood to keep the image as pure as possible. Once everything is set up, let's take a shot and make a comparison.
You walk around here like you wanna be someone else. Ooh, I know that you don't know it, but you're fine, so fine, fine, so fine. Ooh, oh girl, I'm gonna show you when you're mine, oh mine, mine, oh mine. Treasure, that is what.
All right, with the setup in place, let's take a shot. Through comparison, we can see that without adding the frame and without removing the UV filter, there's excessive glare, and the dark contour lines are not pronounced enough. After adding the frame, the lines become darker and smoother, achieving the desired gradual transition. The background lighting has been arranged, and now we will work on enhancing the brightness on the product surface and the label. Now I've set up a standard reflector with a honeycomb grid to direct light forward. We can use a KT board to create a reflection effect and illuminates the surface with a bright highlight. When looking for the reflection point, it's important to ensure it's in the right place and check for any unwanted elements in the frame. Alright, let's take a look at the results. Both the front and back of the image now have the appropriate brightness. Lastly, let's apply some automotive wax and spray some water droplets for the final effect. When applying the automotive wax, it's important to follow a specific direction and sequence to ensure that the texture of the wax isn't noticeable. This will make the surface more natural, as our goal is to give the bottle a certain tension, allowing the water droplets to look more rounded and full. You can also use Vaseline for this purpose. Vaseline's particles are a bit coarser, but they provide better adhesion. During the process of applying these substances, you might notice a layer of thickness. However, don't worry about this, because once we spray on the water droplets, they will cover some of these unnatural areas, creating a uniform surface. Now that the wax is applied, we can make the water droplets even finer by using a finer spray nozzle. Next, we'll proceed to the supplemental lighting setup and capture the final effect. After completing the shooting, we will further refine the image using Photoshop to achieve a cohesive final result. In this lesson, we've focused on explaining the methods of presenting dark contour lines. Practice exercises for bright contour lines and subject representation, along with corresponding lighting position diagrams, are provided in the course materials. Hope you'll take the time to practice and interact with me actively through comments.